Is this actually working now? Maybe it isn't actually working. Well, if it is working, I don't think it's working very well. But maybe it's actually working. I can't see the chat. I see it here. Chat. Is it here? Okay. We've got John. We got Ahmet. I'd like people in the chat to do me a favor. I'd like them to say whether they can hear me or not. So, let's see. Can you actually hear me? Because I know it's actually broadcasting, so that's kind of cool. John says he can hear us. Bad audio. Yeah, that's what it sounded like with my phone. Let's see. Is there anything I can do about that? Okay, as long as I can be heard, I guess that's a good thing. Audio input capture? I don't think I want to mess with that. Let's, I have an idea. I think I remember. Okay, I have an idea. I have an external microphone that works great for this sort of thing, but I don't remember where I put it because I just moved across the country. And none of my things are where I want them to be. See, I could have planned this much better. I really could have. Oh, there it is. I found it. I think this will help us. Now I just need to find the cable. I apologize for that, everybody. I'd like you to do me another favor now. I'd like you to tell me if you can actually hear me much better now, because this microphone is actually good. I think it was taking audio from the laptop microphone, which is not a good microphone. So let me know. And I know there is a delay. Look, there I am. Okay, love it. Thank you for letting me know. I'm very happy to hear that. All right. Welcome everyone to the second AH Fix-It live stream. Well, in terms of what YouTube thinks, it's probably the fourth or fifth, because I don't know what I'm doing. But I think this is going to be okay now. So we are here because I start a full-time job tomorrow. Finally found something after a month of searching, and let's just take this moment to kind of go through all of the crap that I've built up and what's coming next on the channel. So if it's beer o'clock most places in the United States right now, so this is a local one from Montana. Forget the name of it, but if I ever find out later in the night, I'll let you know. It's a raspberry wheat ale. I've got the door to the room cracked open in case Miss Sadie wants to stop by. She was around earlier. She was really clawing quite a bit at my leg and looking at some of these things down here that I'm about to show you. So, all right, let's go through the chat a little bit. Say hi to everybody. Hello, John. Hello, Ahmet. Hello, Terry, Chuck, Joshua. All right. Oh, raspberry wheat ale. So, let's see. John, the answer to your standard power supply board voltage in a Marantz 22XX is 35 volts. And I knew that before reading Craigo's answer down there. What do you know? What do you know? Look at that. She's here, everybody. Say hello to the camera. She's here to tear shit up and make things difficult for me. Maybe. Or maybe she'll hang out and be nice. I don't know. Tilt down a little bit. There we are. Thanks for coming by. We're all happy to see you. Oh, what else? What else? It's going well in the new home. Thank you, Jose. James from Minnesota. Portugal and Washington State. We got everybody here. And yep, we've got a Sansui here. I think this is going to be the next video. It was featured in the most recent Marantz 240 video, and that's because I needed a preamp to run something through a power amp. But the thing about the Sansui is sometime in last spring, I lost one of the channels out of the power amplifier, and it sounded really awful and distorted, and I didn't know what was going on. So in that next video, I figure out what that was. And spoiler alert, it's not that exciting. It was really stupid and easy what was broken. But still a fun watch, I think. Should be entertaining for you all. So that's why I've got it sitting here as my prop for the evening. What else? What else? I'm here to show you all of the crap that I have. So there's been three things that happened. We'll start with the first one. I had that Jaguar V12 project, or V8 project, I guess. I had to rip the old V12 out of it, and I sold that to a guy. And as part of that sale, he included 3 receivers, actually. And I've finally, after over a year, broken into 2 of them. And I'll show you which ones those are. Oh man, that's hilarious. I told you, folks. I said first thing, she's here to mess things up. And what did she do? She messed things up very badly. So I think she's learned her lesson for at least the next 5 minutes. I don't see any acknowledgement of that in the comments yet, so it'll be fun to see those come in. How did that sound for all of you? Is this still working? That's a question I have. Holfy cuck. Oh man. Sorry about that, John. Oh man, that is really funny. Here, maybe it's my fault. There, now it won't happen again. Perfect. Okay, so like I was saying, got 3 receivers from the V12. I blew that off, and then I moved for the first time since the channel to a different house in Pennsylvania. And then I told my neighbor about this, and he comes over with literally a truckload of stuff. That included the Altec studio monitors, that Marantz 240 that just got finished up. What else? That Kenwood KR44. A lot of stuff came out of that, and there's still a few things left, but not too many. And then, most recently, my sister-in-law, her father, very unfortunately, passed away a few months ago. But he had a little collection of audio gear. And there's not really any stories behind any of this stuff. He just kind of had it. No one really knows much about it. But it's all here now. It was brought up here from Colorado all the way up to Montana. So we're going to go through all of that stuff from all 3 of those things. And then there's a few other little miscellaneous things that I'll need to mention as well. So let's make sure everyone is still alive from Sadie's little thing here. Looks like everything's okay. Yeah, good to hear from you, Lucas. I think I remember your name. SX980 is a decent one. Let's see. I think we might as well get started here. So, I don't know how the microphone's going to work quite with all this, but hopefully it's able to pick up enough. Because, you know, I'm here, or microphone's here, but I'm going to be behind the camera, and the camera is wired into the computer right now. So, let's just get started here. So, let's start here in the top left. We've got a Technics, appears to be 1990s stereo receiver. And also, some of these, I'm not even sure I'll make a video on a good number of these things. Like, you know, is this thing interesting at all? I don't really think so. I mean, maybe the SA EX510 is significant. I'd be surprised if it was, just based on what I know about gear from this era. Then down here we've got a Heathkit AA 151, and as you can see, it's been pretty botched, pretty messed up right there. Really unfortunate that somebody thought they could add a second knob and drill a hole in the faceplate. So, we'll see what happens with this one. I think there's some missing tubes in it, but it could be a fun restoration or repair video. Then we've got a 1990s Yamaha tuner. It's the T70. So, I don't really know what I'm going to do with that. I don't know if that's worth the video, but what is worth the video is this guy right here. These early Sony receivers are kind of fun. This is the bottom of the line, the STR 7015. So, I think that should be a fun video. Let's see. It seems that you can still hear me because no one's complaining, so that's good. And now let's move up to here. We have a Sherwood, what the hell is it? It's like an S3000 or something. I've got the, S3000. This one came with a printout of the user manual. And sorry for the shakiness of the camera. I'm doing the best I can to hold it the best I can. It's just a DSLR. Not one of them fancy phones with the stability controls. And maybe I should use a GoPro for this. I don't know. Then we have a Craftsman Stradivarius. This is another tube. Looks like a receiver because it's got amp, preamp, and tuner. I don't really know much about that. Then down here we have a DeWalt. Looks like a tuner. Pretty interesting. And then down here, this is my buddy's favorite, the Heathkit. What's the model? There we go. Model AA32. So that's a nice little integrated amplifier right there. Might be. I think that one will be a good video too, and I think that one's worth some, like, more than $100 too. Like this Yamaha, probably worth less than $50. I don't know. Bottom of the line Sony, not much. So, anyways, now let's move on over here. We have a Onkyo TX2500. Obviously, he bought it at Goodwill for $50, and I'm not really sure what he did with it. Probably nothing. Apparently, he did nothing with all of these things. So, that should be an interesting video. I've never worked on an Onkyo before. I mostly know this brand from, 90s gear, 80s gear. Don't see this too much on a silver-faced piece of equipment, so that's kind of interesting. And then we've got a NAD tuner. Wish we had a amplifier with this or something. That'd be kind of cool, but we don't. So let's take a quick break. I want to take a poll in the comments section. I want you to let me know which one, if any of those pieces of gear, you would be most interested in seeing worked on. There is one piece of gear from that lot that I have already worked on, and it is a Zenith radio, and it looks like this, and it's already been accounted for, unfortunately. It's going to my buddy in Canada, and you'll get to hear about that in the video and what's going on. But yeah, it was broken. I fixed it, got it to a working condition, and hopefully you can kind of see that. The model number is MJ1035, I think. Let's see. I wrote it down over here. Yeah, MJ1035 is the model number on that Zenith radio. Very similar to the Zenith we saw in the wintertime. That kind of like a yellowish wood colored one. That was Tyler's grandparents actually. So that one was fun to work on. It was kind of cool to see a very similar design that came apart the exact same way, but they were still 10 years apart. And you could see little differences here and there. So, what does everyone have to say here? We've got yes, John, I gave that neighbor a lot of food items because this neighbor had just about every tool, everything you could ever need. He didn't need stuff, so I paid him in food items. Maybe he's watching. Hope that strawberry jam tasted good. What do we got here? Onkyo, Sony, Onkyo, he's Kit. I don't see any strong trend here, so maybe I'll just go with the easy one and just pick the Sony. You know, it's always nice to have easy stuff to work on. But, you know, I've been bitten in the past thinking something is going to be easy. I think we all have. So, I think for me it's between the Sony or the Heathkit at the bottom of the stack. Tube tuner repair. Yeah, I don't know much about tuners, and tube tuners, it's just a whole other world. So that Sherwood, if he's got the manual for it, that means there might be something wrong for it, so I definitely have my work cut out for me there. Just did my brief reading of the comments. I'm not really seeing any strong bias or majority toward any particular one, so thank you all for your help. Appreciate it. Okay, how about we move on to the next stack here, and this is the big stack. So it'll take a little while to go through. Let's start at the top. This is stuff that's not going to get worked on. So, well, actually, no. I do need to clean the controls on this SA7100. I restored that in 2017. It's been going strong. It was the garage unit you may remember from automotive videos. And this thing, I love the build quality of this thing. I'd like to take it apart just to show you how nice it is inside. It's just a really nice piece of equipment. And then I bought the matching tuner for it years later on eBay, but I've not restored that at all. So I think a brief recap and an alignment would be good for that. I still haven't done an alignment on this channel, and I do have a piece of gear that absolutely does need it. We'll just jump down here. There she is, the SG-165. That needs to get used. I claimed it on my taxes, so I need to use it. Up here we have Ico HF20s. These I used when I had clipless Scalas. I used them when I wanted the best sound possible. Otherwise, my 2270 was honestly a really good match for clipless Scalas. And then that's a tube amp I built in college out of a kit through a little club I was part of. So that doesn't need any work. Let's go down to the bottom shelf here, or next shelf down rather. This is a CD player. This came from my neighbor, along with the Marantz 240. I turned this on. It does work, but then I got a really obnoxious, like, squealing sound out of it. And I wonder what that's all about. I do want to get better at some of this 90s stuff, just because I think it'd be a good challenge, or, you know, just nice to see how these things have changed. Like, you know, this is easy. That's like piece of cake, no problem. All discreet, you can get anything for it, but like, you know, down here, you know, this is where you enter the throwaway stuff. And it's like, is it worth fixing? And if it is worth fixing, what do you got to do to go through it? I don't know. So, let's see. This is my Technics SLQ200 turntable. This is just my test turntable. You can see I've got a really cheap Audio-Technica stylus on there. Come on, camera. Don't be silly. Alright, whatever. That doesn't need to be worked on. That's just my test player. And here is what made the channel explode. This is the Marantz 2230 that was power washed. And I haven't turned this on in over a year. It's got that Bluetooth adapter in there still. And you can see I still need to get the gyro touch wheel reattached, restring all that stuff. Actually, I think the string is okay in there. But this needs more work still. And I do plan to make just like a blanket restoration video on the 2230 because I haven't really touched any of the capacitors in here. Or, like, you know, I made it work. Excuse me. This was working. It just needed the controls cleaned, and then it started working just fine, despite how it used to look. I think a number of you saw the where I introduced this thing, and I unboxed it from eBay at the end of 2020? Or was it 2021? At the end of 2021, I think. It was a wreck. Absolute wreck. And it's just incredible that it works at all. And of course, I needed to get the faceplate for it. VintageHiFiAudio.com had the faceplate. He's working on a dial pointer replacement, he tells me. Nothing's out there just yet, but I told him I'm very interested in checking out that product once he has it. I need 2 of them, actually. So, I guess this is a fair question. If I were to, and I do need to make a video on this 2230, I need to wrap this up. Would you, as the viewer, prefer a long form, like I just go through and do it all in like an hour plus long video and explain everything? Or do you want videos that are board by board, like a power supply board video? Similar to what I did for the 2250B that started this channel after the Maggies. So let me know your thoughts on that. And then this is Dad's 2270. Never getting rid of it, never selling it. This is with me forever, period. End of story. And unfortunately I don't use it because there's some big problems with it. I think there's some failing switches, and I do need to get to the bottom of it, but it's gonna take a lot of looking, a lot of digging. So I've been kind of reluctant to jump into it. But I'm sure they'll make a good video though if I can figure it out, and it'd be great to have it figured out because this is a fantastic piece of equipment, as everybody knows, and the values do reflect that. Let's see, and then this back here is just a frequency counter, and I got this at an auction at work for like next to nothing, and I plan to use it to make sure that this thing is putting out the proper frequency, because it's just got a little analog knob down there for setting the tuning frequency, and I want to do checks with this thing. It's got a digital readout, and that'll tell me if I'm actually tuning to the right frequency, because I don't really trust what that says right there. It is kind of close though. I think I checked with another counter once, if I recall correctly. Alright, let's take a break. Let's read some comments. And you know, of course, through this whole fun thing, if you have questions, you just let me know, and I will do my best to answer them. Alright, where were we? Terry M., your choice, Hayden. Thank you. Terry gets it. I'm just going to do what I want to do. That's what most people do when they ask questions like that. But no, I do value your opinions. Because without you guys, I probably don't spend time doing this. You all make it worthwhile. Okay. Yep, SA8100. I've always wanted an SA9100 and TX9100. I think that'd be a really cool combo. But these days, money. Pioneer says yes, Pioneers. Yeah, of course you do. Harman 1CA. I haven't fixed it yet, so we'll see. I can't fix everything, and I've demonstrated that on this channel before. Oh yes, throwaway stuff. Surface mount stuff, yeah. Long form 2230. Tuner alignment, it's coming. And I'll get to that in a second here. Boy, oh boy. How many folks do we have joining with us right now? We have, looks like 38. 38 people are spending their evening doing this. I am honored. Okay. We've been going for 30 minutes. Not bad. I was gonna stop at around 7 o'clock Mountain, but we'll probably go over. And that's okay. Let's see. Pause that. Where is everybody's favorite background music? That's a great question. I'll humor that. I'll go right ahead and humor that. This isn't even hooked up, but let's do it. And where is my RCA cable? I don't store things on the floor, of course not. Oh, what's this? The magical beer hand sticking its hand through the door once again? My goodness. Wowee. Oh, I need to plug it in first, don't I? Oh, I did plug it in, I just didn't plug it into the one that's turned on. Okay. Everybody's favorite song. I should just have it on repeat the entire time. There you are. You are most welcome. Cheers to that. Oh, what else? Okay, I'll do a long form on the 2230. That's kind of what I was thinking of doing. I've never looked at a realistic receiver. X-Ray Tony B just did a video on a realistic receiver, and he seems to really like it. I have nothing against realistic receivers. They gotta be just fine, you know. How many people made the dental floss joke? Many. I didn't keep count, but many. What else? I'm in Bozeman because of course I'm in Bozeman. If you're gonna move to Montana, you're gonna move to Bozeman and everyone's gonna hate you. So, I don't need to get into Montana politics here, but it is a thing. Do some research on Bozeman, Montana. It's something. It's really interesting. I don't like that I contributed to the problem in that way, but I am working for a local business that is, you know, I'm not working from home filling out forms for people's insurance claims or something while living in the mountains. That's not what I'm doing. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Missoula ain't bad. I was there the other day. Okay. I think that I've addressed everything here. If I didn't and you're mad at me, go ahead and insult me. Let's see what happens. Let's continue. Let us continue our journey down the shelf here. So we left off right here with 2230. There will be a long form coming up on that. Let's come down here. This is the Marantz 240 that you all just saw get wrapped up. Okay, I'll say it. I'm gonna sell it. If you want it, find the email me about section. Otherwise, it's just going on Facebook Marketplace locally. Here is the first of 3 that came from the V12 sale. This is a Yamaha RX V870, and I'm told that the outputs are probably blown on it. That's what happened to the other two. Yeah, here's the other two that came from the sale. I'll go through those in a minute, but they both lit up the DIN bulb very bright, and that always makes for a good video. But yeah, haven't even plugged this in. I don't know what's going on with it. Anybody got a knob? Let me know if you got a knob. And then here is the power washed Pioneer SX750. This video didn't do nearly as well as the video for this one here, and looking back I kind of understand why. I was a little cocky with in light of the success of this one. Got a little strange with this one, thinking of re-releasing it and going through the restoration of this guy here. I've restored 2 or 3 of these SX750s. They're great. I think the X50 generation of Pioneer is one of the best you can buy, in terms of Pioneer especially. So probably another long form on this one, just restoring it, because if I recall correctly, it's got a bad filter capacitor. We've got AC hum when we turn it on, and that's no good. So that is coming soon. Now, here's 2 things that I have touched and I have videos in the queue for. The first is this MCS, or Modular Component Systems 3233. And this is the JCPenney department store special. They sold these in JCPenney stores, and I even downloaded the service manual and it said JCPenney on the first page. So this one, how much should I spoil? I won't spoil it, but it lit up the DIN bulb very bright, and it was the absolute worst possible outcome, and somehow I was able to get around it, so I'll leave you hanging for that one. This one needs its controls cleaned. I think it should be okay. And then down here is a Pioneer KR5010, and sorry, I took my hand off to get it to focus. And this one also lit up the DIN bulb very bright, and it's for a reason most of you may know. It has STK50 Darlington power packs, and one of them was poo-poo. So I pulled it out, the DIN bulb stopped lighting up bright, and that was a good enough video in and of itself. So what I'm going to do in the future is I'm going to have a shoot-off between a China, or the cheapest STK50 I could buy on eBay, because you know they're likely counterfeits, and then I bought the Audio Karma open source PCB design for the STK50s. X-Ray Tony B just threw one of those in a shoot. What was it? Gosh, why can't I remember? I can't remember what it was, but maybe it'll come back to me. Something else that used the STK50. Oh, it was a Fisher. It was a Fisher receiver, and so I'm gonna build that. I'm gonna try out the cheap one from eBay and see what happens with that. So I think that'll be a fun video. We can see if there's any like differences in power output, if the new one just explodes, and just how superior that discrete component design is. So I'm excited to try that out. Next to these two is a Tektronix 2465. This was going to get thrown away at work. It gives me a cal error when I turn it on, so I want to make a video on just trying to figure out how to make that go away and replace the cooling fan, because it's very noisy. This is a much nicer scope than what I normally use, which is this Hitachi right here. This was my grandfather's, and this is just kind of like a basic scope. It doesn't really have a very big frequency range, but it's great for what I do, as you know. But this one goes all the way up to 300 megahertz, so that should be nice. Any Tektronix scope fans out there? I don't know how exciting or how well this video would I don't know how exciting this video would be or how well it would do, so we'll see. And then at the bottom here, let's go here first. We have a Heath preamp and power amp set here. We've got the AP2510 preamp and the AA2500 power amp. Haven't tested these. These came from my old neighbor, and yeah, should be interesting. Maybe it works and it doesn't need anything. Like the Marantz 240 worked, but it needed stuff. These, I'm not sure what I would do. They appear to be early 90s, maybe mid 90s. I haven't done any research on these, so I don't know much about them. And then here's what I think could be kind of interesting. These guys right here. So these both came from, again, my grandfather, who is no longer with us, but these were in the house. And this one here is a Motorola. I think it's just an AM radio, actually. Let's open it up. Yeah, I think that's AM. So that's pretty cool. I think it'd be fun to see a video on that. And then this probably just needs new batteries. It's just a AM/FM radio. Looks like from the 80s. So this one right here. I don't even know if it's got to be transistor. I don't think vacuum tube would be portable like that. So those could be fun. Let me know what you think of those. And then just isolation transformer right there. And then behind me, yes, there's just a few more little things. We've got the Bogen, looking to get rid of that. And we've got a really junky Kenwood KR-A30. Is that what it says? Yeah, KR-A30. And then an honestly really cool Akai cassette deck right here. It's kind of funny, the tape that was in that Akai, and those two both came from my neighbor again. It was a mixtape made in the 1980s, actually. Actually, maybe even the 90s. I think there was one 90s tune. So, like, I'm listening to this tape through this 80s receiver on this 80s tape deck, and I think Highway to the Danger Zone was playing, and it's just like, oh my god, this is like one of the most authentically 80s things I've experienced in a while. You know, these things sound terrible, but they sound amazing in that they sound terrible. You know, like it's kind of like an old Jaguar. You know, they're absolutely terrible, but at the same time they're absolutely amazing because of I don't know. People are weird, including myself. So, yeah, that's the cue. That's what we have in here. So, let's see. What does everyone think? STK, boo, boo. All right. Restoring a 1969 Philips amplifier. Well, I don't have one, but if I did, maybe I would. DL Mad, you're in the minority. That's interesting. Haven't heard of too many people leaving this place. Well, everyone's coming here. Let's see. STK power packs are a nightmare. Yeah, we'll see how that goes for me, for sure. Excuse me. I did that very close to the microphone. Yeah, the Motorola, I think I would just leave the exterior as is. I'm a big fan of patina, and I'm not a big fan of paint and body work, so I tend to enjoy just the patina of these things. Yep, Jeff and X-Ray Tony B just did it, so if you don't want to wait for me, check that out. Have never worked on a big boom box. You know, finding good stuff to restore in Montana, it's honestly been kind of a concern of mine, per se. Because where I came from in Pennsylvania, you have a lot of... well, if you think of the population density of the country in the 1970s, Pennsylvania was way high up there, and this state, Montana, was not. Most people, I think, tend to stay where they were. So you see a lot of that gear being used out there. I see a lot of it in Washington State, just on eBay stuff, but out here you really don't see too much. And in this particular town, there's a lot of immigrants, per se, like myself. And a lot of them are closer to my age and don't really have an interest or knowledge of this stuff. So I have not seen as much out here. If you go on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, you don't see much. Whereas in Pennsylvania, or even in Detroit, where I was originally from, you can see a lot of stuff going on there. Where I was in State College, Pennsylvania, there wasn't that much. I'd either have to drive to Philly or Pittsburgh, or even Delaware, New Jersey, to really find stuff. That's where most of it is. It's on the coasts, honestly, in my experience. What else? Sections of videos, deep cleaning receivers and such. I don't know. I normally just take compressed air and call it good. I'm not really one to go super high into detail. And, I'll clean the outside, but the inside I'm never really too worried about, as long as all the big dust is out and there's not like massive corrosion or anything. I go for function most of the time in my things. Aesthetics comes secondary to me. A lot of the stuff I have has physical or aesthetic issues. Like my daily driver Volvo, the paint is terrible. My BMW, it's got a rusty fender. I don't have any plans to fix that because I've changed the oil. I've changed the radiator recently on the BMW. Runs perfect, drives perfect. Rusty fender is not an issue for me. I'm just ranting now. Let's see. I think most amplifiers, at least since the 60s, have a fuse of some kind. As you will see with the video on this Sansui, there are a lot of fuses inside of this Sansui. I think fuses are great, especially in this scenario, because a fuse potentially saved some things in here. Well, I just gave away the video when I wasn't going to earlier. Oftentimes, yes, I see fuses on the inside of receivers. I know at least on the Pioneer SX636, the power supply board has, I think, 5 fuses. And at least one of them, I think, goes to the lights, and I have shorted out the lights on Pioneer SX something receiver before and blown that fuse. So when that happens, it saves everything. Saves your transformer, essentially. Yep, I used to drive through Iowa a lot for work. I went from Missouri to Minnesota. Plus plenty of barns in Iowa. So, what else do I have to say to all you viewers? Not too much. Just wanted to show you everything, and if you're watching this not live, be sure to leave a comment on what you want to see or what you're particularly interested in out of all the things I've shown just now. I will open it to questions in general. Many of you are doing that now, but yeah, go ahead and ask questions. eBay prices on Marantz receivers are absurd. I was looking at the Marantz 240 actually because I was trying to get an idea of what's a fair price for it. And you go on eBay, you see a whole bunch of Marantz 240s on there, and the sellers are all asking like almost $2,000 in a lot of scenarios, or like maybe they're untested and they want $1,000, and I'm just like, you know, that's kind of ridiculous, don't you think? And you can find that you can confirm that yes, it is indeed ridiculous, because if you go into advanced search, you can set it so that it'll show the results of previous auctions that fit those keywords. So if you do that, you see that the only things that are selling are the broken ones for $500, which I think is a lot of money for a broken, finicky amplifier, personally. I'm also not the best person to talk to about the values of these, because I come from the recession days, is kind of when I got into this stuff, and it wasn't quite like the late 90s, I don't think, because I wouldn't even know, but in the late 2000s, when I was looking at, even the mid 2000s, you could get this stuff cheap. You really could, compared to what it is today. And I've, ever since, I'd say around 2012 or 13, I've watched prices for this stuff just absolutely explode. And it's unfortunate for folks like myself, because, you know, I'm used to being able to pick up a broken 2270 for like $300, and then I can flip it for a little bit more than that. I don't buy anything. I really don't anymore, because if I'm going to have to buy something, I'm going to have to compete with everybody else if it's on eBay, or even locally, just if I'm buying it from just some random person, they've gone on eBay and they've looked at the prices, you know, like $1,500 for a 2270. No, and then if it's broken, it's like $500 or $600 now, and you may think, yeah, if it's just like, if for me, if I'm gonna buy something, I'm gonna try to flip it, and it's kind of a big cost of entry for me sometimes. So what I do instead is I just live my life, and then all this crap comes into my hands, like you see. So the downside to that is most of this stuff is not worth much money. The biggest exception, I think, being that Marantz 240 amplifier. So that's a rant. What have we got? This is a Sansui AU 6600. Thank you, Dan. Looking forward to releasing them. Every Friday. I'm trying to get a video out every Friday. Yeah, good luck with your 250, John. Good luck. I got really lucky with the 240, like I said. I didn't have to replace any semiconductors, and everything balanced out and started working just fine. One thing I forgot in my 240 video is there is one more carbon comp resistor on the amp board, and what it does is it's basically the last stop before the signal reaches the speaker. I believe it's a 1 ohm 1 or 2 watt carbon comp resistor, and I missed it completely and I never replaced those. But I don't think those handle a terribly large amount of power, kind of like the dropping resistors do, those 1.5K ones. But yeah, if you're going through the carbon comps and you're watching my video, just FYI, I missed one. And I missed it because it's not marked as a carbon comp in the service manual, for the 240 at least. I made sure I got them all because, instead of looking, I went down the manual and it has CC for carbon comp for all the carbon comp resistors. So I just ordered all of those. That one was marked as a wire wound, but they've got a carbon comp populated in the board, so whatever. It works great. I'm probably not going to worry about it. Yep, SX838 might use the same phono board as that SX737 I had on the channel once. Look for that video, '65. It's not hard to work on the X3X stuff if you're willing to go for it. I've never bought something from Japan on eBay. The tech scope does seem to work, but I get an error when I turn it on, so my goal is to get rid of that error in the video. Yes, the pandemic really set everything off with the prices, but this was a trend that just got exaggerated by the pandemic. Prices had been climbing the entire 2010s decade. And yeah, now things are just stupid. I think a lot of people retired who had these a long time ago and have savings and said, that's what I want. I don't care what it costs, I want it. I think that sentiment is driving a lot of the value. I also do think that it's worth the money. Unfortunately, like if you're looking for, and I'm not a good person to speak to this, but I think 70s stuff sounds really good. That's a video I actually thought about making, because my experience with audio gear is, and I may have told this story in the first live stream. My first receiver ever was a Yamaha RX 737, I think. RX 737. It's just a late 80s, early 90s stereo receiver. I think it was like 60 or 70 watts per channel. No slouch, but, black plastic. And it was great. It was just like my parents' RX 500U, but a little bit newer. And so I knew about the Yamahas from that, and I had that as my first receiver. But then my dad brings home his broken 2270, which you just saw earlier in the stream. And I plugged that thing in, and it did work for a minute, but like it didn't matter how you set the tone controls, it sounded leagues better, worlds better. I can't even describe it. And with that Kenwood KR A30 over there, just absolute piece of junk, I'm thinking of making an actual sound comparison test and just kind of making a video explaining, like, if you were in the year 2000 and you were this is kind of I feel like the vintage stuff, knowing about how it sounds, wasn't exactly known until now, and that's why I say it's worth the money. I think the cat's kind of out of the bag in a sense. Like you can spend $6,000 on something brand new. Brand's 2270 is probably gonna sound better. It's just my 2 cents. And a lot of people may argue with me on that, but it's really tough to compete with the vintage sound. And I think that stuff got a lot worse once they figured out how to make it cheaper. I think that's what it really was. Is like back in the day, like obviously everything's built to a price point. The Marantz 2270, that's just how you did it back then. Like, you know, they weren't like trying to spare all expenses, but like solid state was early. It was new stuff. The cheap workarounds hadn't been thought of yet. So the worst, some of the worst solid state stuff back in the 70s probably sounded a little bit better than some of the worst stuff in the 80s. That's just my opinion. But I don't know much. I was going to say somebody like Cheap Audio Man might have a more educated opinion on that. Or some of the other channels. I think Andrew Robinson's one of them. They're looking at new stuff. And there is an Andrew Robinson video, though, where he's got a Pioneer SX450, like the bottom of the line X50 Pioneer. And he's raving about the dang thing. He's like, this thing sounds incredible. And I'm like, yeah. Yes, it does. I know. Now, just imagine if you had a 750, you'd probably be pooping your pants or something. I don't know. So, I don't know how I got on that rant. The AU6600 has already been restored. It was restored in 2015 and 16. The next video will be on the AU6600. You'll get to see inside of it. How much does it roughly cost to have a receiver recapped and the knob contacts clean? Back in the day, when I had a lot of time and was younger, I would restore Marantz 2270 for $400. I would not do it for $400 today. In fact, I probably wouldn't do it, and the reason for that is restoration takes many hours. Like, even if I charged $2,000 for a Marantz 2270 restoration, and where I go through and I replace every single capacitor, follow everything by my How to Restore Marantz video, I'd probably still be making less than $20 an hour, because that's just how long it takes. It's how long it takes me, at least. I'm not fast at this. Even though I've been doing it long enough, I don't go fast. I like to, triple check everything and make sure it's okay. I do it for my personal stuff. But, all the stuff that's on this shelf here, it's probably going to go. I don't need just about any of this stuff. It's all going to go once it's working. And if I were to go through and restore this stuff, I'd never finish it. I'd never make my money back. I'd lose a lot of time. I don't know what people are charging these days, but if I had to, and this is also going to depend on the receiver, I'd think that a Marantz 2270 restoration for $800 to $1,000, you're probably getting an okay product. But the reason I post these videos is so you can all do this yourself, because it's really time consuming for people like me. So if you're willing to, take a stab at it and learn, you can have a very fulfilling experience and have some fun doing it, learn some stuff, and you won't break the bank doing it, because these parts are cheap. That's not the issue here. It's the labor. Like, a mechanic might charge you, a good specialized mechanic may charge you $100 an hour these days for work on your car. If I charged $100 an hour to do a restoration, you'd be into the thousands. Why shouldn't I charge $100 an hour for all of the knowledge that I've gained doing all of this, all of the work I've put in, all of the things I've learned? Why shouldn't I charge $100 an hour? But I can't, because it's going to take me too long and no one's going to pay that. So that's why it's so hard to find people that do this stuff. It's really hard to make money doing it. And I'm thinking of making a whole video about that, actually, because I get over and over, will you fix my stuff? Will you fix my stuff? And the answer to that question is no, unless you can drive it here, and I can probably fix it in a day or two. I'm not going to restore your stuff. You see this pile of crap I have to go through? I need to finish this stuff and get it off my shelf because, I don't want to be a pack rat per se. I like to see things go to new homes and go to new owners and, actually get used. It's no good having any of this stuff sitting on this shelf. So, I'm only human. I do this as fast as I can. Could I go faster? Yeah, sure. Could I prioritize it more? Yeah, sure. But I don't. And this is just the situation I'm in because this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. No, I will not work on your stuff unless you can drive it here and you don't have any specific timeline in mind, and I think I can do it quickly. That's my thing. I will not let anybody ship me anything because stuff breaks, especially receivers like Pioneer, SX receivers. The glass breaks almost every time. I've seen it happen so many times. It's just really disappointing. Knobs get bent, stuff gets dropped, corners get bashed in. I've seen circuit boards break. It doesn't matter how well you pack it. It's just too big of a risk, and I want nothing to do with it. The one time I did take something from a viewer, it was a guy in New York. He sent me an email. He said, like, man, I've spent hundreds of dollars on this. I'm just getting boned by this guy. He's not fixing it. I'm in worse shape than I was. Could you please help me? And I said, sure. And sure enough, you know what happened? The glass broke in shipping on his SX737. It's like, man, the one time I decided to do this. The one time. So, that's why I don't take stuff shipped in. Also. So, alright, that's enough ranting about that. So to answer your question, Black Charger 1975, it depends on the receiver, and it depends on who's doing it and how much they want. There's no reason somebody like me shouldn't want to charge $80 to $100 an hour for what we do and all the time we've put in. We are valuable and our knowledge is good, but it gets really expensive, so that's why I post this stuff, so you guys can at least get an idea or see, like, maybe I could do it, stuff like that. Yes, take that 2245 right to the grave. That is a good idea. First gen 22 series Marantz are just the best. They're very, very good. Okay, I have a lot of comments to catch up on here, so. And yeah, Jeff, fully restored to be reliable, prices, new stuff probably won't break. Old stuff, you're still dealing with 50-year-old controls. I can clean with Deoxit, might not completely be okay. I can restore the thing to what I think it should be restored to, but I'm not going to go through and replace every resistor either. You could have a bad resistor. You could have a transistor that's on the verge of going that I didn't catch. You don't know. You just don't know. Thank you, Eric. New Mac, I don't know anything about new stuff. I would recommend you go to Cheap Audio Man and see what he's got going on there and ask him that question. He is an expert on new stuff. Sansui 5050? Yeah, totally. That's from a good era of Sansui. I am liking the new house. Thank you, Robert. None of the new stuff looks as good. Yup. Yep. Terry M, the stereo setup is exactly the same as it was in Pennsylvania. It's the Magnepan MG2s with the Marantz 2250B. The exact same setup is going out there. Yeah, new tube stuff is a whole other thing I didn't even get into. Yeah, Pioneer SX950, solid. Yeah, see, you can't make money doing restorations. You just can't. It's not possible. And I've been reluctant to bring this up, but I'll do it in this live stream since it's not going to see too many people. Anybody in the comments know the legend of Hollow-Fi Audio, that Noah guy? Anybody familiar with that? That's a good case study in you can't make money on this. Well, he tried to, but at the end of the day, I don't even know if I should give my opinion on it, but it's yeah, I think the work kind of got to him, honestly, because I know what the work is. I know how hard and tedious it can be, and I'm not sympathizing with him at all. What he did is awful. He broke the law. He's hopefully serving time for it. But you know, I certainly don't want to end up in a situation like that. It's really hard to run a business and make money on this stuff. This is from a brewery in Bozeman, Last Best Place. Pica Pale Ale. It's a decent beer. It's a good one. Jeffrey, I think I would start on the 2238B because it's lighter, and I think for somebody getting into this, Marantz are a better one to learn on, actually, because the PCBs have the component designations marked on them. Like if you need to replace C701 per se, it'll say C701 on the board. The Pioneer stuff does not have that on there. You'll run into issues really locating where things are with a Pioneer unless you're kind of used to it, jumping through all the pages of the service manual. I think that I think the Marantz 2238B would be a better one to start with. And the SX980, that's a much bigger receiver too. It's nice to have a nice small thing to maneuver also. Those larger Pioneers can be kind of cumbersome per se. But I can't speak to either one in terms of like how easy it is to get the boards out or how easy it is to replace components on each board. I've never worked on a 4th gen 22 series. Never even, have I seen one in person? Maybe. But whatever. Start with the 2238B is my opinion. Let's see. JD, no one gets to know how old I am, but thank you for asking. I learned all of this just kind of out of my own interest. I just wanted to learn how to work on this stuff. It all kind of stemmed from my dad's 2270 needed work, and we took it to the hi-fi shop in town where I grew up, and they kept it for a week or two, and they said to me, this isn't worth repairing. There's too many things wrong with it. And that's just kind of the, and again, kind of goes back into the like, how do you make money on this stuff? Like, what was really wrong with that was I had broken a ground trace on the power supply board, so that made everything act very wonky. So the tech was probably very confused, and they said we can't make money on that. But today, I think anybody would try to make money on a 2270 because anybody who's got a 2270 paid a lot of money for it, which means they have money to fix it. So, I kept it for years after that day. I was just a little guy at that time, and I just had it in the back of my mind, like, I'm going to learn how to fix this stuff eventually. So, I started on Audio Karma, posted threads, people helped me, and that's really the biggest thing. People helped me. So this is kind of my way of giving back, per se. I'm taking everything I know, putting it in front of you all, and you get to watch me repair stuff, and I may gloss over things that maybe I shouldn't sometimes, but I try to, talk about that stuff. And yeah, Cheap Audio Man, yes, you're welcome, Mac, posts at least 3 times a week. He's full-time. I am not full-time. He's doing this constantly. So, very knowledgeable. I don't want to say send him an email, but if you can't find what you're looking for through his videos, maybe he'd have a minute to get back to you, but, no guarantees. I'm sure he's getting a lot of questions. He's almost up to 200,000 subs. We're only at 20,000 here. So, and that makes sense too. He's appealing to a much broader audience than I am. Okay. Well, it's getting to be about 7:30 Mountain Time here, so I think I'm going to wrap this up. I will stay here until 7:30 because I know there's a big delay between the comments and what I'm saying. So if you have a last minute question or whatever, put it in here. I'll answer it, hopefully by 7:30. But yeah, thank you so much for joining in. Thanks for your input, what you'd like to see worked on. Next video is on the Sansui AU6600. It's a fun one, but it's not too complicated. It turns out to be a very, very simple fix. So that's always fun to see, especially for me, because I don't have to spend hours working on something. What was the last one I did? I think I spent like hours working on that Kenwood KR44. I ended up giving that to my friend before I left, and that thing was, I still never fixed it the way I wanted to, but yeah, it's working. He hasn't told me it's lit his house on fire yet or anything, so that's good. Alrighty. Blown fuse Sansui. That is exactly what happened. And yeah, thank you everyone, and you're welcome to those who say thanks. I got 2 more minutes. Let's see. What do things look like on the YouTube here? It says I'm live. 45 watching. Okay, the thank yous are finally coming in. I wonder if I set the 1 minute delay on this thing. I don't know. I'm learning how to use this the live streaming stuff. Yep, juice. Okay. I'm gonna wrap it up now. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, I guess. I don't know. It's up to you. I do feel that there's got to be something more important in every one of your lives than watching this. So, I appreciate you coming, and I hope you're not putting off something more important. But yeah, thank you everyone. I will see you in the next one. Oh, yes.